welcome back to my virtual classroom for another reading lesson. Today we are going to be reading an informational text, and we are going to be focusing this week, and by the way, a lot of your reading activities this week are going to focus kind of on the same concept, but our focus for the week is on being able to ask and answer questions about your reading. This is something that we have worked on in class. In fact, I think it was one of the very first things that you learned in your class. So our I will statement for today, well for this week, is I will ask and answer questions about my reading. So like I said, you will be reading, or I will be reading an informational text to you, and we are going to answer a specific question about that text. Now I will go ahead and say that there could be a number of different kinds of questions that you might get asked in a passage, or let's say you were taking a reading test and it's asking you a question about the text. It might not even be a question, it might be the directions might be telling you to go find something in the text. So there are a lot of different types of tasks or things that something might ask you to do, but the biggest thing is to be able to go back to the text and be able to find your answer. So we're going to practice that a little bit today. So here we go. Alright, so I'm on my iPad today, and the text that I'm going to be reading to you is from ReadWorks once again. By the way, I said in another video that you can find so many different texts, literary and informational, that will help you practice reading comprehension. So I highly recommend downloading it, maybe taking a look at it over the summer to get some really cool reading comprehension practice. This is a really good site to use. But the text I'm going to be reading from today is called Sunlight in the Night. Okay, again, this is an informational text, and as always, I'm going to just read it one time, and if that's not enough for you, please go back and rewind and listen to it again as many times as you need so that you will be able to understand what we are going to be doing after I read it, okay? So, sunlight in the night. You cannot see the sun in the nighttime, but did you know that you can see the sun's light at night? Here's how it works. When it is dark, you see the moon shining in the sky, but we know that the moon does not make its own light. Moonlight is really light from the sun. The moon reflects the sunlight. When something is reflected, it is thrown back. The sun's light is thrown back to Earth. That makes the moon look as if it has its own light. What you are really seeing is the reflection of the sun's light. Alright, so that is the end of the text, and again, rewind it if you think you need to hear it again. Okay, so for today, we're remembering that we have to be able to ask and answer questions about our reading. Now, like I said before, what you will see in a reading passage, or especially in your packet this week, you might see questions about the text, or something might be telling you to do something like go find this in the text, or name 3 or 4 different things that you learned from that text. You have to be able to go back to the text and find that information, okay? So I came up with a question for us to focus on for today, and it is, what makes the moon visible? What makes the moon visible? Now, I need to be able to go back into the text in order to find the answer to that question. So that was an actual question. But again, please remember that you are not always going to have questions. It might be telling you to do something, okay? So I'm keeping the question in my brain. What makes the moon visible? So my job is to go back into the text and find the answer to that. Now, when you're going back into the text, I know you might not want to do this, but if you don't remember exactly where you saw it in the text, it just helps to go back to the beginning, okay? So I'm gonna go back to the beginning. It's very short. I think I'll be able to find it pretty quickly, and I think you will be too. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning of sunlight in the night, keeping that question in our brains. You cannot see the sun in the nighttime, but did you know that you can see the sun's light at night? Here's how it works. All right, so the answer is not quite there, but I'm getting close, so let me keep going. When it is dark, you see the moon shining in the sky, but we know that the moon does not make its own light. Moonlight is really light from the sun. Okay, here we go. The moon reflects the sunlight. When something is reflected, it is thrown back. Okay? So again, I think I found the answer to my question. So the question was, what makes the moon visible? So what I would say is, we know that if you go back into the text, but we know that the moon does not make its own light. Moonlight is really from the sun. The moon reflects the sunlight. Well, the sun is making the moon visible at night because the moon is reflecting the sunlight. So all of that into one sentence, and I'm gonna write it for you. I'm gonna have to erase my question, so give me a moment. I'm gonna have to erase my question because we want to put this into a complete sentence, and I want you guys to remember to do this when you do your packet, especially because in 2nd grade, they're gonna require you to write your answers whenever you have to write something or write an answer to a question. They're going to require you to write it in complete sentences, okay? So what makes the moon visible, okay? We just read that it said that the moon is reflecting the sun's light, so the sun is making the moon visible. Well, the sun's light, okay? So we'll say the light from the sun makes the moon visible. Period at the end. Make sure you always start your sentences with a capital letter, spaces in between your words. Make sure you have an end mark and make sure that that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, you need to look at it again. So the light from the sun makes the moon visible. There you go. All right, and that is the answer to that question. But again, I cannot stress enough. Sometimes you might have something in your packet or something on like a reading test where it's not asking you a question, it's telling you to go find something. So make sure that you're able to do that too. I'll probably show you an example of that maybe next time, okay? But now you are able to ask and answer questions in your reading. So when you go into your packet this week and you go through all of your activities, you should be able to go into the text that is provided there for you because there is text on every single one of those. Read it as many times as you need to, highlight, color over it, do whatever you need to do to be able to pick out the information that you need, and you should be able to answer the question by looking at the text. Friends, we miss you so much. We're so excited to see you very, very soon in our parade. And friends, guess what? You guys are about 2 or 3 weeks from being considered a 2nd grader. How awesome is that? I am so proud of you. I miss you so much, and I hope to see you next time for another reading lesson. Bye!